In this video, we're going to look at the inverse trig functions. So we'll have a look at their graphs, and in the next video, we'll have a look at how to do some calculations involving inverse trig functions. All right, so you've been using inverse trig functions for some time, maybe without thinking about them that hard. For example, if you end up with sine x equals a half, well, x is the inverse sine of a half. And you can work that, you can key that into your calculator and get an answer. Now, this thing that we write as sine to the power of minus 1, let's explore that function more. The first thing to say is that these functions do have another name. The inverse of sine, its full name is arc sine x. The inverse of cos is arc cos of x, and the inverse of tan is arc tan of x. Now, we just use this as a shorthand, but you'll often see questions, if they're really asking about the inverse, they'll give it its full name. But know that arc sine of x is the same thing as sine to the minus 1 of x, and arc cos of x is the same thing as cos to the minus 1 of x, and arc tan is the same as tan to the minus 1 of x. So these are functions that you've been using. Now, how could we sketch these functions? Well, we've seen in previous videos that the inverse of a function, its graph, is a reflection of the original function in the line y equals x. So, as an example, remember that if I was to graph, for instance, y equals e to the x, it looks like this. And if I was to graph its inverse, which is y equals ln x, it looks like this. Y equals ln x, and that is a reflection in the line y equals x. So this is true for all functions, including our trig functions. So if I want to sketch arc sine x, I just want to reflect sine x in the line y equals x. The only problem with that is sine x looks like this. Okay, sine x is not a one-to-one function, and way back we looked at functions and we saw that the only functions really that have inverses are one-to-one functions, and this is a many-to-one function because multiple different sine values take you to the same height. So we can only find an inverse of sine if we snip out a part of the function which is one-to-one. So what we do is we snip out this bit of the sine graph, because from here to here, that is from, well, if we were working in radians, from minus pi over 2 up to pi over 2, we do have a one-to-one function. So if we were to flip this in the line y equals x, here's what it would look like. So if we are to flip that section of y equals sine x in the line y equals x, we end up with this. Okay, now the key features of this function, I didn't draw a particularly nice curve there, is that since the sine graph oscillates between 1 and minus 1 in the y direction, our inverse sine graph oscillates between 1 and minus 1 in the x direction. So we've got minus 1 there and 1 there. And then on our y-axis, it goes down to minus pi over 2, and it goes up to pi over 2. Now, for arc cos and arc tan, it's the same thing. We have to snip a section out from the cos graph and the tan graph, or sections which are one-to-one. So for arc cos, we're also going to have to snip a section of the cos graph out, which is one-to-one. So let's look at the cos graph and think about which bit that could be. So y equals cos x looks like this. So we want to select a part of it which is one-to-one. So that's y equals cos x. So the bit that we select is actually this bit here, from 0 up to pi, because this part of this is a purely decreasing function and it's 1 to 1. So that is the bit that we take, and then we reflect it in the line y equals x. Okay, so let's reflect that in the line y equals x and see what we get. So here was arc sine x. For arc cos x, it looks like this. Okay, now notice I haven't flattened out here or here, and the reason, if we look at our cos graph, for example, is that this isn't going vertically down. It cuts through actually a gradient of 1, which means that we're not going to be cutting horizontally through here. We're cutting through a gradient of -1 in this case. Now, y equals cos x oscillates vertically from -1 to 1. So just like arc sine, we have -1 to 1 on the x-axis. We go from 0 on the y-axis up to pi on the y-axis. So this is what y equals arc cos x looks like. Okay, now let's have a look at arc tan x. So remind ourselves what the graph of tan looks like. Well, it comes up from negative infinity, cuts through at 0, and up it goes to infinity, and then back down to negative infinity, and so on. Well, the obvious bit to snip out here is just one of these swooshes. So let's take the one from minus pi over 2 up to pi over 2, so just this section in here, which is always increasing, it's always 1 to 1. And if we reflect that on the line y equals x, here's what we get. So we end up with a line with asymptotes in the that are horizontal, like this. So just like the asymptotes on tan x, where x equals minus pi over 2 and x equals pi over 2, here they are y values at pi over 2 and minus pi over 2. And then it cuts through at the origin. And that is y equals arc tan x. All right, so you need to be able to plot those, or rather sketch them, and then we need to be able to sketch some transformations of those. So let's have a look at doing that now. Okay, so can we sketch y equals pi over 2 plus 2 arc cos x? We should build this up one step at a time. So I'd start by just giving yourself a very rough sketch of arc cos x. So arc cos x, you'll remember, looks like this, going vertically up right at the end. Okay, so 2 arc cos x is a stretch of that. So our original arc cos x went up to pi and had a x value there of -1 and there of 1. So 2 arc cos x literally just stretches it all out, and the picture is really just the same. It's just the y values have all been doubled. So I can just give myself a rough sketch of that. It's just now that this point here is 2 pi, but this is still -1 and this is 1. Now what I need to do is I need to add pi over 2 to this. So let's just give ourselves a slightly bigger graph here, and we'll draw this out a little bit more accurately. So I'm just going to shift this all up by pi over 2 units. The other useful thing is that this intercept here was pi over 2, which means it got stretched up to pi here. So I'm just going to take this point where it starts on the x-axis and shift it up by pi over 2. And then I'm just going to draw an arc cos graph that's all been shifted up like that. Now, what are the key points? Well, I'm still going from 1 to -1 here, but this point here, what are its coordinates? Well, its coordinate is just, it was 0, but it's now just been shifted up by pi over 2. So that's pi over 2. This intercept here, it's got shifted up by pi over 2, so that is now 3 pi over 2. And this intercept, which was 2 pi, has been shifted up by pi over 2, so that is 5 pi over 2, or 2.5 pi. And there we go, there's a sketch of pi over 2 plus 2 arc cos x. Looks kind of odd, just like a little squiggle hanging in space there. All right, so here's another one, 2 arc tan x minus 1. So rough sketches for all the kind of intermediary steps. So let's just start with arc tan x, which looks like this. And we know that the asymptotes here are at minus pi over 2 and pi over 2. So what's happening here? Well, it's being stretched vertically by a scale factor of 2 and it's being shifted over to the right. It doesn't actually matter which of these we do first. So I'm going to do the translation first. So another rough sketch here. Shifting everything over to the right, I've now got something like this. Okay, where this point here is now 1. And my asymptotes are still what they were. Pi over 2 and minus pi over 2. Now, could I work out what this intercept here is? I would just sub in, remember this, what I've sketched here is just arc tan of x minus 1. So if I wanted to work out what the y-intercept here was, I'd just sub 0 into this equation, and that would be arc tan of negative 1. And if we work out what that is, it's minus pi over 4. So this point here is minus pi over 4. All right, now what I'm doing, I'm doubling everything. So that is a vertical stretch, scale factor 2. So let's give my kind of final answer here. So this is my neat version. So I'm taking this graph and I'm stretching it all out. So it's going to look kind of the same shape. I just need to relabel my point. So asymptote there is twice as far away and cuts through here, goes through at 1 and along there. So this asymptote is not pi over 2 now, it's pi. This asymptote here is at minus pi. This is no longer minus pi over 4, it's minus pi over 2. But this point here still has an x value of 1 because it's still being shifted along 1. And its y value didn't change because its y value was 0. All right, so that is the inverse trig functions and some of their graphs and some transformations of some of their graphs. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can do some calculations and solve some puzzles using inverse trig functions.